In December this year, it will mark exactly 1 year since Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba left the country. He left the country for fear of being killed. This is according to what he told me on this episode of The Stay. I feature him to discuss the future of the Patriotic Front, the impact that the arrest of their Secretary General, Raphael Nakachinda, has left as they build to their convention that is slated for next month, November. Welcome to This Day. My name is Andrew Mwansa. Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, thank you so much for making the time to join us tonight on This Day.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, and good day to your dear viewers and listeners.
I would love for us to begin off from what happened just a few days ago. We heard from the Lusaka Magistrate Court that your bench warrant has been extended for some days to allow for the law enforcement agencies to bring you and prosecute you. Are you running? Some say that you are on self-imposed exile. What would you describe what the state of your being is at the moment?
I left the country to attend to an international conference. Prior to my departure, I'd been arrested 3 times. I'd been tortured, brutalized. My tooth was knocked out. I still haven't replaced it. My shoulder, neck was injured in that arrest that occurred in 2023. The matter that the police alleged that I assaulted the police officer. I was surrounded by 12 policemen, but 3 were identified as policemen. They came in 3 vehicles, possibly in daylight around 15:30. Picked me brutally, manhandled me because I felt I was being abducted. I didn't know who these men were. I had no idea. They had no identification. They refused to identify themselves, and they wanted to immediately get me. And they hurt me. They, knocked my tooth out. The way they twisted my neck, my arm, and the thumb and other injuries. That was the first. And I was locked up and detained for about 24 hours. I was incognito. People didn't know where I was. My family had no idea where I was. Lawyers didn't have any idea where I was. I since have sued the state and the 3 policemen for that abduction. Literally, that was a kidnapping, and then the torture and beating they caused on me. Then there were other 2 arrests on me. But when I left in December for an international conference, there were threats on me, threats on my life, threats on my family. And while I was here in the United States, the government issued further threats of arrests. Cadres threatened to take my life away. These are published matters that you have. And I felt it was not safe for me to return. Of course, while I was here, I suffered an injury when I was playing a game called Peekaboo. And I hit my shoulder. When I went to see the doctor, they said, you have a legacy injury. I said, no, I don't. They said, but your shoulder has a serious legacy injury. Then I said, the only injury I had was the one when the police brutalized me. They said, yeah, that remained untreated. So the new injury just, added to the problem. So I've spent a lot of time receiving specialized treatment on that shoulder because it remained untreated for 2 years.
How would you describe then what the status of your being is? Are you in exile, or, well, according to what I'm hearing from you, Ambassador, is that you are scared of coming back because of these issues you've been hearing and that are already of public knowledge. Is it possible to suggest that you will never come back to Zambia unless there's a regime change?
I have reported the threat to the police, but they've never taken my issue seriously. I reported to the Human Rights Commission my concerns. remember when I was due to return, a police spokesperson issued a flurry of allegations that the police were looking for me for what I had said or issued to you people in the media. A cadre, identified cadre, said a person like Emmanuel Mwamba, a senior member of the UPND, a person like Emmanuel Mwamba, should not be left to the police, but he used the term, the office of the president. I think he meant special branch. I don't know what he meant, but he used the term office of the president, the OP. These are candidates for elimination. So those threats have never been attended to. I do not feel safe. I have indicated every time that I'm willing to come home because the charges I'm facing are ridiculous. Like, for example, assaulting a police officer, all the evidence demonstrate that that charge is a fraud. From the medical record, from the charges, and from the testimony I've given to court, the charge is a fraud. It should be the other way around. They assaulted and brutalized me. The other matters at a police station in Kawata, again, ridiculous charge. You have seen the video. I'm seated on the pavement opposite Kawata police station near ShopRite. That's where I'm seated. You've seen that video. The police came to me and discharged firearm and tear gas and picked me and said I'd acted in a disorderly conduct. In ridiculous charge. They walk across to where we are. We are seated peacefully like I'm seated on the pavement. You've seen that video. I can send it to you. But they come and say I had caused the riotous conduct at the police station. The other one is when they stole the Patriotic Front, and I went and held a press conference at the party secretariat. I was live, and I stated that Zambians should not allow President Hakainde Hichilema to abuse the law. Zambians should not allow President Hakainde Hichilema to steal the Patriotic Front. That was in November 2023. I just came from London and straight went to because when the events occurred, when Mao Sampa held that AGM, I was not in the country. I traveled to the United Kingdom and I was reading the issues. But from the airport, when I arrived, I went straight and posted on my page that Zambians should not allow President Hakainde Hichilema to turn it into a one-party state. They said, that was sedition. I was alarming Zambians. So if you see the 3 charges I'm facing in court, they're all ridiculous. On any count, I can win those cases. In fact, they are an oppression on an innocent citizen. I have no corruption allegation. I have no theft allegation. I have no discernible charge against me. I'm totally innocent, and I should be allowed in the country to practice the politics. I'm a presidential candidate for the Patriotic Front. I'm among the presidential candidates for the Patriotic Front. I'm the official spokesperson of the PF. Allowing me to be outside the country under these conditions is unacceptable. It's an affront to our democracy, free expression, and free association. I'm supposed to be in the country organizing voter mobilization, and I've willingly demonstrated that I'm willing to come. Even the bench warrant issued in all these cases, I've said they're ridiculous, because up to before these threats, I've never omitted my attendance in court. I've always gone to court, and I believed in my cases that I could easily win in any jurisdiction, in any court, the matters I'm facing.
Then why don't you come back if you believe so much that you are innocent? You could easily win these cases.
The circumstances, the threats on my life, I've demonstrated that at the moment I do not feel safe. I've appealed, I've reported those that have threatened my life, and the police have done nothing. I am willing to come. I've always stated that I'm willing to come anytime. First of all, to face the charges, to face my oppressor, and to be allowed to mobilize the party. And my candidature that I have demonstrated I want to participate. But the current environment, when we say that President Hakainde Hichilema is practicing and fostering a dictatorship, is manipulating institutions of democracy, institutions that should separate powers, such as parliament, the Electoral Commission of Zambia, the judiciary. This is what we mean. I'm a clear case where you can see that I cannot receive a fair, just treatment from both the police and even the judiciary. We have seen where the judiciary literally is misconducting itself, ignoring circumstances that and facts that are before it, jailing people perceived to political opponents of the current president, refusing bail pending appeal, literally locking them away. This is not my opinion. This is an opinion of various international human rights organizations. My case has been cited by the United States Department's annual country report on Zambia, the case of Munia Zulu and the other cases. So it's not that we are running away from justice, it's that there's a leader in the country who's fostering oppression and who's abusing all institutions.
So it's right to say.
Silence his critics, to punish political opponents. So it is not an adequate environment. It is not clear if any of the political opponents to the president can receive fair and just treatment, both before our police and before our courts of law. It's not possible. Whether in parliament, whether before the Electoral Commission of Zambia, what President Hakainde Hichilema has fostered is this dangerous environment in our country. That may not, that may not allow free expression, free association. Even free elections are threatened under these circumstances.
So for as far and as long as you believe that there will be no fair justice, if you came to Zambia, you will not come until you feel that the environment is conducive for a justice system that is clear.
I'm not that definite, Andrew, because the first time these things occurred, I traveled to the US in 2023, and partners that had read how I was treated by the police offered that I should stay in the country. That is ridiculous, that I should go back to the country where I'd faced the extent of state harassment. And they feared for my life even then. But I said, I will go back to my country. Even today, I'm saying, I am willing to come back to my country. I do not want to stay away from my country. Every moment I stay away from my country is a satisfaction to President Hakainde Hichilema and his regime, because he wishes that we are away from the scene. So we are either in prison or imprisoned. We are either detained, harassed, silenced, or like me, who's now literally in exile. That is a perfect environment for President Hakainde Hichilema and the system here.
Would you confirm, Ambassador, whether you've sought asylum as of yet?
I have not yet, and I'm willing to. I have not come to that consideration. I am every day troubled with when I can return home. I still have my active return ticket, which I keep on renewing, and it's very expensive. I want to come to my country. I want to participate. Like I said, I have presidential ambitions, whether they are good, whether they are feasible, but as a citizen, senior, who can be considered as one of our high echelon of leaders. I've been a permanent secretary. I've been an ambassador in the last 8 years. I have international experience, domestic experience. I want to offer my leadership, but I can't exercise that fundamental right under this environment. Remember, I paid 200,000 kwacha to my party, but I'm unable to come.
Before we can talk about your ambitions to become president, let's talk about the people that you've left in trouble back here in Zambia. You've left in trouble your sureties in Honorable Elas Daka and Honorable Gordon Mwila. These Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba are in trouble because you're nowhere to be seen.
So the law on surety is very clear. When people sign for you a bond or bail, in the event that you do not return to court and the court becomes impatient, they can issue a bench warrant. They can punish the sureties, and the punishment is the sureties must pay the pledged amount. In two of my cases, that matter has been sorted and the sureties are free. I still have one case which has to be resolved. It's not a pleasant thing that third parties must suffer, must be humiliated, must be threatened with being locked up or imprisoned. And, because I am not available. It's not a good matter. It's a matter I regret every day. I want to stand on my own and I can get bond or bail in my own recognizance, But if people supported you, you need to ensure that they are not inconvenienced. But unfortunately, this is what we find our country in.
Let's come to your statement that you issued recently. You said that we have noted with serious concerns a series of public statements and the party activities culminating into unsanctioned presidential campaigns and purported endorsements by party members or structures. These acts amount to lawlessness and cause damage to the reputation as they display a party to be perceived as one experiencing disarray and chaos. Some have welcomed this statement by yourself, but some have criticized the statement, and those that have criticized the statement are coming from the Patriotic Front. Individuals like Chanoda Ngwira, who perceives you to be a presidential candidate and you have no right standing to give direction to the party when you are an interested party as well.
From day one, I began as a presidential candidate in 2021 when I came back from a country. When President Edgar Chagwalungu and the Central Committee were appointing me as member of the Central Committee, as member of and official spokesperson of the political party, where they gave me the portfolio of chairperson for information and publicity, they knew I had announced already that I'd taken interest in my country, and I was among those people that had lined up to replace the late president as president of the party. So from day one, I've never hidden my presidential ambition, and the party has even when they gave me these responsibilities, they didn't do it that my ambitions were naked or were secret. I have performed my duty as spokesperson of the party. I clearly distinguish the difference between my ambition and my current role as the official spokesperson of the party, together with the Secretary General and the President. So Chanoda Ngwira, if he's truly PF, he knows the role of the chairperson for information and publicity. I never issue statements in my own capacity. I issue them on behalf of the party. And I carry the decorum and the respect of the office that I've been allocated to. I don't impose my opinions, my wishes, or my views when I speak. So the likes of Mr. Chanoda Ngwira, if they know what Patriotic Front stands for and the party constitution, its practice and rules, that issue may not even arise. I have spoken while the president was alive, and even now that he has demised, to my knowledge, I remain a member of the Central Committee and the official spokesperson of the party. So am my ambition clouding my statement on this? Far from the truth. My statements can show from 2023, when this race began, that when I'm speaking in this capacity, I'm speaking on behalf of the party.
The statement seemed to be directed at individuals that have already begun to mobilize support ahead of the elections And so far, I think the ones that we could clearly see that have, been mobilizing is Honorable Brian Mundwile has been mobilizing. Comrade Joseph William Dolo from South Africa has been mobilizing online, and his presence has been felt right back here in Zambia. And a few, and so this, this message that was delivered felt like it was going directly to, these individuals that are mobilizing. But also, perhaps maybe make the viewers understand, for those that could be getting this message wrongly, Ambassador, is it wrong at this moment where people see that the Patriotic Front is in disarray because of your internal party wrangles? In this regard, I'm making reference to the fact that you still are fighting for the party in court. There's no substantive leader. There's an acting president of the Patriotic Front at the moment, Honorable Given Luminda, who has not come out in the open whether he wants to be president of the PF, or not. You don't think it's wise for those like you who have presidential ambitions to begin to sell themselves to the people as we wait, for the elections next year?
The Patriotic Front is a very democratic party. We started by announcing the vacancy of, when we're seeking for leadership of the party. We followed it up by inviting candidates that were interested in, seeking the office of the president under the Patriotic Front to come forward. A period was given, and 9 of us stepped up and paid a fee of 200,000 kwacha as candidates. The circumstances changed along the way. We were preparing for a national conference. We were preparing for an official calendar in which we could then begin our campaigns. Of course, the announcements were all known by whoever could say who was standing, and for the 9 that had paid their nomination fees. But when the president returned to active politics outside leave, we all put that process on ice to see where things were going. It didn't take long. Then the party was hijacked and stolen by the state, and we since engaged in a fierce battle to try to reclaim the party using all forms of requirements. We've gone to court, we've cried before court, and we have maintained the party and membership and leadership structure from Shangombo to Nakonde, from Lundazi to Zambezi, from Livingstone to Chirilabombwe. We've kept the party together. The leadership have kept the party together, although the legal status of the party has been stolen. So when the party was stolen, we've kept the membership and leadership together. Those that have attempted to steal the party, like Robert Chavinga and President Hakainde Hichilema, still hold no sway or authority over our members. And we are pleased. We have prayed to the judiciary that this is the only legal way, safe way to keep the country together by allowing us to seek redress in the courts of law. The UPND and President Hakainde Hichilema have attempted to demonstrate that these are internal battles. They are not. They have stolen the party legal status, and they intend to do what we have seen in Tanzania, in Cameroon and other places where they are refusing, using state power for the major opposition parties to participate in the role of the country, in the democratic process of the country. This threatens national peace. This threatens national security.
With 10 months to go before the elections of 2026, Ambassador, your party has not gone for a general conference yet. You've not held your party convention as of yet. What is happening in the Patriotic Front?
4 months ago, we lost our our party president, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, may so rest in eternal peace. We have not put him to rest as a country. It's a matter that the state, the family, and the Patriotic Front are battling to resolve. We hope that it can be resolved very soon. We heard that the state and the family had appointed mediators to quickly resolve the impasse. These are, Dr. Alik Banda, the Archbishop of Lusaka, on the side of the family, and Dr. H.K. Banda from, Northwood Assemblies of God and president of the Pentecostal Assemblies of God on behalf of the state. We hope that they can be allowed to sit and resolve this matter. At our last Central Committee meeting that was held on October 6th, an evaluation of the country was done. The calendar for election is out, and there was the persuasion that in light of the standoff between the state and the family, where the late president, who is our party president, has not been put to rest, maybe in light of all these circumstances, maybe we should be allowed to go to conference and, replace the late president. It's an agonizing decision. It's a painful decision that the party should be replacing someone who has not been put to rest. So it's very sensitive for us. And the party at its meeting said, let consultations take place with the family to explain to them the difficult circumstances we find ourselves in. And then we set up a committee to make ready. This committee is chaired by Lupososhi MP, Honorable Emmanuel Mwamba, who's also our chairperson of the party, to come up with the preparations of the conference, logistics, date, time, and rules and regulations for campaigns for whoever will be picked, while the party was consulting the family and also consulting just other stakeholders how we should go. The Patriotic Front is a national institution. Other than the members and other than the leadership, there are many people interested in the welfare of the PF. You have seen many voices speak to us and speak to the country, to speak to President Hichilema, even with this current impasse where he's attempting to steal the party. So there's that period, and there's a report, consolidated report, being given to the Central Committee on Sunday to make further decisions. Number one, other than the 9 candidates we know, we now hear, for example, that there are people like Honorable Given Luwinda, acting president, that there is Makebi Zulu, that there is Joseph Wheeler Udolo, and the others that wish to participate beyond the 9 that are identified. The Central Committee has to make its decision and maybe open up the process, give a calendar, and we hope, as at our last resolution, that we could go to conference before the end of November. We hope that by Sunday we will know if we can go to conference before end of November. So the meeting on Sunday will make broad guidance to all these issues. Hence, we had to publicly state, and this was our second statement. The first statement was issued by our Secretary General, Rafael Nakachinda, who stopped all premature campaigns and all endorsements. He said, the time has not come. The calendar is not yet out. And let us wait for a formal process. We might be condemned for such a decision, but remember, the reason we are in court is that the PF is a party of rules, it's a party of regulations, it's a party of the Constitution. If we abandon that, then we should even allow Chavinga to be president of PF, because then we are not a party of rules and regulations. We are a party that follows its constitution, its rules and regulations. And this fosters discipline, this promotes unity.
At the moment, legally speaking, Chavinga still remains party president of Patriotic Front. Perhaps maybe make me understand on how this is going to work out. Will you go to the convention without or minus fixing the issues of who is the rightful owner of the party? Will you still go ahead as a central committee and go for a convention without fixing the problem with the party owners?
There's Andrew, there's entirely no dispute who owns the party. The people that make decisions. You can put Chabinga here and he can issue a decree to our members. Let's see if anyone will adhere to him. But I can stand here and I can say stop campaigns and my weight will be carried out. Why? Because we are the legitimate owners of the party. The Central Committee, currently headed by Acting President Honorable Given Lubinda, our MPs that work with us, the structures across the country. We are the PF. It doesn't matter how they tamper with the papers.
Well, unfortunately, Ambassador,
independent celebrations and our...
Unfortunately, the papers don't speak to what you're saying. Yes, you are the owners of the party by virtue of the fact that you command authority in the party, but this authority has no bearing in terms of participation. The reason for why your party has not been participating in by-elections since this confusion started is because the party does not belong to you. Yes, the people are with you, but the party does not belong to you legally. And my question is, Ambassador, that...
Andrew, we must be very clear. I don't know why you Andrew, I don't know why you should celebrate thieves. Someone steals your TV and begins to watch Man United on the TV. Doesn't make them their TV. Even if people walk into their homes and find that TV, it still doesn't make them their TV. If I've gone to the police that this gentleman has stolen my TV, the role of the police is to ensure that my property is reinstated. Now, we have a dictator who will not follow the law, who will not follow the constitution. This matter would have been resolved the first day it occurred. It would have been prevented even before it occurred because the legitimate party owners reported to the police. In fact, the police moved to secure the people that were holding the illegal meeting. The police currently protect Robert Chabinga because they know that he feels that he's not safe. So you have thieves that have stolen the party, and they want to tell us that you don't have this TV that we have stolen. It's us who are enjoying it. We are watching even football matches on it. You don't have a TV in your house. So what are you saying that you have a TV? Well, we are set that we have a TV. It is our TV. Even if you have stolen it and you're even enjoying its fruits by watching soccer matches on it. So the PF remains and belongs to the PF. How will we hold the conference? Make decisions. If we appoint anyone, whoever we appoint, they begin to work in that capacity. If we said, can we be in an alliance? The alliance comes together, whether it's a United Kwacha Alliance or Tonse Alliance. When we say we'll pick another vehicle to stand on, we pick NCP, that becomes a reality. We have legitimacy. If the party today says ABC is the Secretary General and is our presidential candidate, that will be our presidential candidate for 2026 elections. Whether they will call themselves PF or any other, they will be our presidential candidate.
I'll get back to this issue of the Patriotic Front, but you've been hit hard as a Patriotic Front because the Secretary General, Honorable Rafo Nakachinda, is serving an 18-month, sentence and is only going to be out of prison after 18 months, Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba. What is the impact that what impact has this left, on your party? And is Honorable Rafo Nakachinda going to be replaced in the interim as we prepare for the elections of next year? Are we going to see an acting Secretary General or an interim Secretary General in this period?
President Hakainde Hichilema, and I love to name him by name because these are his actions. From day one, he has attempted to steal the party, to steal our members of parliament. He has so far succeeded in stealing Kabushi, Kwacha, Pambashe, Kawambwa, and other seats, even independencies like Lumezi, through his actions of this state oppression that we are talking about. We have refused to replace Nixon Chilanga, who was our Deputy Secretary General, we have refused to replace Raphael Nakachinda and other party holders that are in prison. By law, they are not supposed to be in prison, because as soon as the magistrate or high court jails you, you have an opportunity to appeal against the process. And our constitution and our judiciary and jurisprudence is an appellate process where I can appeal up to the highest body in the judiciary, which should be the Supreme Court or Constitutional Court, depending on the matter. So Nixon Chilanga, our Deputy Secretary General, should be out. He shouldn't be in prison. He has appealed against the sentence, and he has valid and merited reasons why that sentence is unlawful, irregular, illegal, and he has appealed against that sentence. He has also sought bail. He has not been granted. So have been, whether it's Stotela, whether it's Raphael Nakachinda, these people are being kept away from what they cannot perform the duty of the PF, so that these attempts to destroy the PF can be war and total.
It's good you've put this to bed, that Honorable Raphael Nakachinda will not be replaced as Secretary General, of the party, because you believe as a party that they are in jail not because of the crimes they committed, but because of political, persecution. But you also argue, yes, but you also argue, Ambassador, that the law that has been used to jail Nakachinda is an old law and doesn't exist. Can you explain on that?
Yeah. President Hakainde Hichilema repealed this law in December 2022. The cases that are before court were all discontinued except the case of Raphael Nakachinda. Raphael Nakachinda was being convicted the first time in May 2024, 2 years after the case, after the law was repealed. Morally, the DPP must have discontinued these cases because the law was totally repealed. There's been an argument that hasn't been tested in our courts of law that Nakachinda was arrested on the old law, and therefore it can be allowed to go through the full term, like in this case, to conviction. This is the reason he had appealed to the High Court, that the High Court then could look at matters in perspective. And he wasn't convicted after the law was repealed. He was convicted after the law was repealed. It wasn't before. As you know, President Hakainde Hichilema had discontinued the law far earlier. Is it 2022 or 2023? But Nakachinda's first conviction came in May 2024. So we still hold that they are using any means to put us in prison, even repealed and laws that no longer exist on our statutes.
President Hakainde Hichilema recently appointed a 25-member technical committee to move across the country and collect views, over the constitutional, making process. Again, recently we did see the terms of reference that were made public, and all these terms of reference were speaking to Bill 7, and it's been very clear that the submissions that people are making are on the terms of reference that have been made public by the Secretary to the Cabinet. And the team is moving across at the moment. They're in 5 provinces. And early on today, we did see Minister of Justice, Honorable Princess Kasune, state that the committee is receiving overwhelming responses from members of the general public. This is to show that indeed people want an amendment to our Constitution. I would like to pick your thoughts, Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, on this process, on the technical committee as well that has been appointed by the President, and also on the need to have our Constitution amended right before the elections.
The process was deemed illegal. The Constitutional Court gave directives and guidelines, and Bill 7 is dead. Even the attempts to resuscitate and make it live doesn't make it legal. The technical committee, for example, is not was not created or established using the law. There's no law that supports this. There's no legal mechanisms that should allow for this process to take place. The Constitution Court guided, there's a manner in which you need to establish legal framework around the process. The pathway is not known. Is the committee's constitution, how it's constituted, is not known. No stakeholders are there. For example, they will appoint a Catholic priest, but bypass the body that should recommend the Catholic priest or the church. They've appointed the lawyer and bypass the Law Association of Zambia, who should appoint someone. But the entire process is illegal because there's no legal framework guiding it. If you look at what the Constitutional Court guided, it said there's a precedence in which we foster and amend our constitution, and that process has not been adhered to. It's all a one-man-driven agenda. It's not an agenda driven by the people of Zambia. That's why all stakeholders are even boycotting the process.
But what's your interpretation of these legal provisions, Ambassador? You're stating that the committee was illegally put together. But there's another school of thought that suggests that that is not true, Ambassador, because Article 92, Part 1 of the Zambian Constitution vests the executive authority in the president, and clauses 92, Part 2F and 92, Part 2J empowers the president to appoint persons for special duties and to perform other functions as prescribed. In other words, the president has every right to convene such a committee, like he convened this particular one. And so he relied on the provisions of the Constitution that gives him powers.
Those are forced provisions, and it's an abuse of the powers of the president. You use Inquiries Act, you got to look at how Bill 7 was done. A law was created that then would form this consultative process. Bill 10 was anchored on the law. Government went to create the legal framework around constitution-making process. You cannot have creatures of the Constitution trying to amend themselves. Remember, we condemned Mwangala Zalomi Satisizek when she was proposing amendments to the electoral law and the electoral process and the Constitution. Totally illegal. She's a creature of the Constitution. She's been created, and it's not up to her. The role of the constitutional making process is a people's role, the ultimate owners of the country, and they're the owners of the document. So it can be driven by individuals like the president, who's personally interested in whatever he wishes to achieve. This process is totally legal. Just compare what happened to Bill 7. Just consider let's start with the Mainza Chona Commission done under the Inquiries Act and was legal framework in 1972. Let's look at the Professor Mvunga Commission in 1991. Let's look at the John Mwanakatwe constitution making process in 1993. Let's look at the Wheeler Mungomba constitution making process under President Levi Mwanawasa. Let's look at the process that culminated into the Constitution in 2016. Let's look at the process that President Edgar Lungu had started under Bill 10. The role of constitutional making is vested in the people, not in isolated individuals and interested parties. This process is entirely a sham. It is illegal. The president is using force provisions of the law to create another matter. We are talking about the constitution-making process.
What is the biggest issue you have with the content of this constitutional amendment, process? Do you have any issues with the contents? But also, others have argued, Ambassador, that nearly every amendment that we've done to our constitution technically was done in an election year. What is your view, to that argument that those in the UPND are bringing? In fact, even the Attorney General 2 weeks ago on Costa was mentioning that nearly all the amendment processes or amendments that we've done to our constitution
have been done in an election year. I'd like to pick your thoughts, on that as you also respond to what is the biggest fear you have with Bill 7? Because sometimes the president tries to demystify the fact that there's no provision within those 1110 amendments that states that President Hakainde Hichilema is going to extend his stay in office.
Yeah, process protects content. Here, there is no process. You therefore can't guarantee the outcome of the content. That's why you can come up with illegal provisions, for example, restricting people of Zambia to restrict themselves to Bill 7. Who tells them that that's what our people want? Why are you restricting them? So process protects content. Here, the process is totally flawed. The process is non-existent. So before you even go to the content, the constitution-making process is as ultimately fair. Why would you come up with provisions and a time calendar, fixed time calendar? This entire process must be completed within a period of 1 month. Ridiculous. So the process protects content. And here, on the content, we have many, many concerns. First of all, who came up with those provisions? Who tells them that that's what the people of Zambia want to amend? Who says that the 13 proposals are the priorities or wishes of the people that have other and their own priorities. And there's been no mechanism to allow our people to change. So you can see this is a straight-jacketed process to achieve political outcome. It is not about the people of Zambia. It's about President Hakainde Hichilema, how he wants to manipulate the electoral process before, after elections, how he wants to establish. When we say that he wants to allow himself to stay and move presidential, it's a process. For example, he's allowed in this process to go through. He will have, for example, 45 MPs that he nominates. Remember the 12 MPs, youths, the 20 women, and the 10 that he nominated. That gives him already, on this, before he even goes to elections, he has over 45 MPs side. These are all environment. If Bill 7 is passed before we go to elections, he can even have a process to suspend, for example, the elections itself. We don't know what it will present. For the argued constitutional amendments taken place before elections, and therefore even this one is legitimate, just lack a sense of our history. Just look at 1972, look at 1991. 1991 was a necessary process for us to change the status of the constitution and the electoral system, where they wanted political parties to be, to allow political process, other political parties. If you look at the 2016 elections, Zambia is saying there are so much powers in the president. We want the election date known. From the day we go to elections, we need to know when we are going to have another election. We need a constitutional court created because the Supreme Court should be allowed. There were legal and legitimate reason why the process was taken before elections. In every case, if you notice, this one is taking away from our democracy. This one is taking away from free and fair elections. This one is destroying the multi-party nature of our country. And this one is concentrating powers in the president. So you can see how uniquely different this process is to the other processes.
How do you qualify what you mentioned, Ambassador, that if Bill 7 passes, the president could call for a halting of an election? What provisions of the law would qualify for him to have those powers if Bill 7 indeed passes, like you are suggesting?
Oh, for example, he's calling for the expansion of parliament to up to 256 MPs. Like I said, there's an expansion that they're proposing through the delimitation process where 100 new seats have to be created, and then the appointed seats that I've just explained, we can go to election and get new MPs, and you totally control that parliament. He can suspend current processes and future elections. He can do whatever he wishes to do. So it's a dangerous process to embark on without wide consultation of our people, without restricting them to in the manner he has restricted them with these few guidelines that he has said you can only comment about the following and in this limited period. It's an extremely dangerous document for our country.
But obviously, if we're going to have more than 200 MPs, then they would come in the next cycle of election, because we are still going to go in an election with the same system, with the same members of parliament that we have today. But in conclusion, Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, how are you looking at the 2026 elections? The UPND say there's no strong opposition at the moment that could oust them out of power. The president recently was quoted having said that at presidential level, the man is unshakable. Probably maybe at parliamentary level, that's when we're going to see, a few MPs getting to lose their seats. From the lens of the Patriotic Front, are you genuinely seeing a wind of change? Do you have hope that you will retain power with the history that we have in our country, that no political party that has ever lost elections that gets to win back or retain power?
The holding of free and fair elections next year is highly threatened. You have a highly compromised electoral commission, both commission board chair and some members of the commission, and then the managers from the chief electoral officer and some technical staff. It is not possible for us to have free and fair elections. But I just would like to warn that all these maneuvers are futile if you are a student of recent history in our country. If you look at what happened in Mali, in Guinea, in Cote d'Ivoire, in Senegal, and just recently here on our doorstep, Tanzania, the woman hijacked the Independent Electoral Commission, appointed her, literally her substitutes, who then manipulated and banned political parties, and the country is in turmoil. An election is supposed to guarantee and bring peace and unity and resolve conflict. An election should not escalate the security and national status of any country. If you are a student of history, the path that President Hakainde Hichilema is walking, of manipulating the Electoral Commission, of using the police to bar political opponents, using the law to outlaw parties like ourselves, that path is extremely perilous if you look at what has happened just in the last 5 years in Africa. And now what is currently happening what happened in Malawi and now Tanzania. Malawi, the president attempted to do the same thing, manipulate the Electoral Commission, put our own people, but when the people rose, there was nothing both the police and the army could do in Malawi other than to allow and foster the will of the people. And Lazarus Chakwera is out of power. There's an old man, a 94-year-old man, Peter Mutharika, who's back. There are all these attempts where presidents get comfortable because they have appointed service chiefs who are loyal to them. They appoint people that should run elections. They manipulate the police and they manipulate parliament, and they think they can get away with it. The biggest opposition in our country remains our people. They have shown it in 1964. They have shown it in 1991. They have shown it in 2011. They have shown it in 2021. I bet our people will show President Hakainde Hichilema that even if you ban the PF, you impose people in exile like myself, you manipulate the Electoral Commission and put your own people at the Electoral Commission of Zambia. Recent history is dangerously against them. That path is a perilous path. President Hakainde Hichilema has sticked 9 of those 10 boxes of how to destabilize the peace and security of the country.
Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, thank you so much for making the time to speak with us on this day tonight.
Thank you very much. God bless you. And thank you for the opportunity. Thank you to your management and to your team for this opportunity. God bless our country. God bless Zambia.